What if I told you that engineers that are getting promoted fastest aren't necessarily the smartest people on their team? I'm sure you believe this, but one of the techniques that those engineers are using is AI. But hold on a second. It's not just that they're using AI, it's that they are more effective at using the tools. So things like ChatGPT, it's not really just a chatbot anymore. It's now grown and matured to the point where it's an engineering assistant, a research partner, a technical writer, a brainstorm partner, a code reviewer, could even be your career coach. But most engineers are still asking questions like, explain Python, write some code for me. And they're just going to get average answers because those are very average and vague questions. The difference is not in the tool itself, but rather in the prompt. So in this video, I'm going to show you a couple of prompts that might help you save some time. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be saying, but Adam, I'm one of those people that is writing AI agents. That's great. But frankly, a lot of people in our industry are not there yet. And they are very skeptical about the things that AI can do for them. And there are going to be a couple of things that will get you from a baseline to feeling comfortable enough with the tool that you understand its limits. Okay, so let's start with the first prompt. Here's a way of learning a technical topic faster. Okay, so instead of just asking, explain PLC programming, you never want to just ask a very basic question without having a workflow. So here's an example of a workflow for learning something. Okay. You're a senior automation engineer. Explain to me PLC programming as if I'm a beginner using simple language, real examples from industry, diagrams described in words, and common mistakes that beginners make. Then give me a short quiz on the topics that you've presented. Why does that work? Well, first of all, you've already set a baseline for your experience level. You've asked it to give you tactical examples. It's going to be teaching you, and there's a feedback loop. You have a way of being able to understand your own comprehension of the tool. There are obviously ways to improve that over time, but this is a baseline. This is a place for you to start. Okay, here's the second one. So how can you have AI help you solve some engineering problems? Everybody gets stuck. And, a lot of times we'll be just searching Google for hours. Here's one to try. Okay. Answering as a senior engineer, help me troubleshoot this problem step by step. Ask me questions one by one until I understand the problem in full and until you understand enough to give me the final solution. So that does two things. One, it forces ChatGPT itself to think and present as if it's an experienced engineer, and it asks you as the prompter to create a holistic view of the problem so that it has a larger chance of getting the solution correct. And instead of guessing, it will actually diagnose something just like a real mentor would. Okay. Here's the third one. So communication obviously is something that I've, basically put my career on. And I'm not always the most articulate in these videos because I'm usually reading off of a script and kind of changing it over time. Actually, I hate the word kinda. Scratch that from your vocabulary. That's your bonus tip for today. If you can get rid of the word kinda, just erase it from your life. Okay. But communication is an engineering skill, and many engineers lose opportunities because they don't take the time to put together a professional means of communication, whether that's an email or leaving a voicemail message or whatever. Here's a prompt that might help you. Rewrite this email to sound professional, concise, polite, and confident while maintaining the technical context. It probably will bring you up a little bit in your email. Now, I would suggest that if it's something that's really important, maybe you do that first and then you have somebody else proofread your email, like a coworker or something, if that's not your strength. But it's at least a good place to start. And it will work for clients, managers, suppliers, team members, maybe not for like an executive promotion, but we have ways of fixing that. And if you want to work with me, send me a message afterwards and we'll talk through that. Prompt number 4, we're going to be creating technical reports. So I have to do this relatively often, and writing a report can take some time. But the good news is you can at least get a good framework and a good first draft out of a model before you start diving into it yourself. Okay, so here's a place to start. Create a professional engineering report based on the notes provided. So that notes, you're going to be attaching PDF files, you're going to be attaching images, these days you can attach pretty much whatever you want. And by the way, when I say use ChatGPT, you could be doing this with Claude Code. You could be doing this with Gemini. You could be doing this with all three, taking all three reports and then mixing them together in your favorite model. That's actually what I would suggest you do. But we're just going to start with the basics here for a lot of you. Okay. Create a professional engineering report based on these notes. Include an executive summary, a problem statement, a root cause analysis, proposed solutions, risks, and recommendations. And you know what's really funny about this? I actually put those things in my system instructions for ChatGPT and my system instructions for Claude, so that when I have a complex question or some complex task that I'm asking for, I actually ask it to do that for me. I know it's really extreme, but it's something that I have found really helps me get the model to be accurate and get my understanding to be accurate. So instead of spending 3 hours writing out something, you're just going to spend a couple of minutes editing, making the language sound a little more smooth, checking through different items that are in that report, doing the due diligence part. Yeah, it's a lot shorter of a period of time. Okay, so here's the 5th one. This is going to be about debugging. Okay, whether you're writing, C++ or Python, you're running just through like a basic scripting language like MATLAB, Lean, if you're doing mathematical proofs, there are lots of different languages to do lots of different things these days. And automation can mean a lot of different things. But here's a prompt that is generic that you can then modify to make your means. So I want to be very clear here. These prompts are places for you to start. They are not places to be verbatim. I want you to just think about the things that are in here, and then modify for your own purposes, okay? So here's a place to start. Review my code as a senior architect would. Explain to me any mistakes that you see, explain why they happen, and suggest the most efficient solution based on the trade-offs provided here. And then you would actually provide a list of specific constraints. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just ask for corrected code. You want it to explain what it's doing based on a set of parameters that you are asking for. So it's not just review the code and fix mistakes. There's some specific things in here. Ask for an explanation and make sure that those improvements are happening inside of a context. Okay, here's another one. Problem number 6. Learn new software quickly. Do you need to learn like AutoCAD or SolidWorks, like a parametric modeling tool? Do you need to learn a mathematical tool like MATLAB or the aforementioned Lean? Or do you need to learn a business tool for your job like Power BI? Sometimes these tools can be a bit intimidating, especially for engineers that are used to their own kind of world, their own way of doing things. So here's something to try. Create for me a 14-day learning roadmap for mastering XYZ software. Say SolidWorks in this case. Assume that I can study for 1 hour every day. Build an agenda for that hour that includes free resources, daily exercises, and mini projects. Now you've got yourself a structured learning plan. You have an hour that if you can commit it, you have a list of that topic and everything that you need that day. And there's no confusion. There's no wasted time. It will build out, exercises for you. If you don't get through them all, just, keep going. Like, who cares? It's you're not being graded. Just learn at your own pace, but at least you have a place to start. And the good news is that you can take that content that it creates, save that artifact, and if you need to adjust it, you can prompt again. You add it, as an artifact in your prompt and say, I have this 14-day learning roadmap. I'm on day 5, but I'm only on day 3 of content. Can you adjust the content that's remaining to learn at the pace that I'm at? And it'll do that for you. Prompt number 7. I can't count. Prepare for interviews. So here's something you can try. Now, we're going to put our hats on and pretend that we're not software engineers now. We're going to pretend we're physical engineers. So here's an example for a mechanical engineer. Okay. Act as the hiring manager for a senior mechanical engineering position. We're going to pretend that you're going to be acting as a hiring manager for a position 1 above whatever the position is. The reason we do this is so that it makes complex enough questions that you're prepared for a more advanced answer that shows your experience and that shows your knowledge. Okay. Interview me. Ask technical questions one by one, evaluate my answers, and tell me how to improve those answers for a personal interview. It's like having a personal interview, except with a feedback loop built in. So you get all the advantages of having a software mechanical engineering, in this case, interview, but you get to have that interview as many times as you want. You can assess yourself and see how you think you would do getting hired on for that position, and then get some feedback and start improving so that by the time you do get ready for an interview, you actually can interview your way into one job up a level from where you think you are. You can practice as many times as you want with no pressure. Okay. All right, here's another one. Prompt number 8. Here's a way to squeeze out a little bit of extra productivity. This one may not necessarily be as important anymore if you're used to tools like CoWork or Codex for Work. Codex Work, I don't remember what they call it. It's fairly new. But let's think about this. So obviously, engineers, we're busy. We've got things like meetings, projects, deadlines, emails, things that we don't really care to do that we have to anyways because our boss wants us to. So with all that in mind, use this prompt. Okay. Based on these tasks, organize my day using the Eisenhower matrix and suggest a realistic schedule. Just a good place to start. If you're unfamiliar with an Eisenhower matrix, that's that thing that has the do, delegate, I can't even remember them all off the top of my head. But the Eisenhower matrix is essentially like actions that are urgent, not urgent, versus actions that are important or not important. And you want to always be doing things that are urgent and important first, then important and not urgent, and then the not important stuff comes after, right? If you remember the old Franklin planners, maybe you guys are a little too young for that, but they used to have these paper planners that people would write in, and they'd have A, B, and C, and D in there, and you'd put your tasks in there. It's the same idea. It's just a fancier version of that. So you get it to organize out your day using the basic matrix, and then suggest a realistic schedule so you get the important stuff done no matter what. Prompt number 9. All about explaining complex data. So one of the most difficult parts of an engineering job, it is communication, but specifically about communicating data. Because sometimes you've got spreadsheets. You might have sensor information if you're an IoT engineer. You may have storage logs. You may be a DevOps engineer and you have a big log from a CI/CD pipeline. You've got a bunch of failures and you have to figure out what happened and why. You're doing a postmortem. In any of these scenarios, you want to have a way to be able to explain that complex data to your boss, your boss's boss, put it in a report, publish it to a blog post, and make it public without revealing any data. Pro tip, that could get you a promotion. I have plenty of coworkers that's exactly how they got promoted, is they took some sort of complete disaster, made a postmortem of it, anonymized it, published it as a blog post, and then turned it into industry influence. So this one will be useful for you. Okay, here's what you want to do. Analyze this body of data, whatever it is, identify patterns, anomalies, possible causes, and explain everything in simple language. instead of staring at numbers, you'll understand the story behind the data. Then once you get that information, then you can say, create a report out of what you've put here, incorporate XYZ data into the report. The target audience is X, like target audience is my management, or the target audience is the general public, or the target audience is such and such trade professionals. So you can take that body of knowledge, make a quick report out of it. Obviously, you want to do your own due diligence and read and do things, right? This is a tool to help you save time. This is not a tool to help you do your work. There is a difference. Okay. And then prompt number 10, become more valuable at work. So part of becoming more valuable includes having a greater influence over your industry, a greater influence over your team. Maybe it's over a specific geography. There are lots of different ways that you can think about this. And if you want my help in figuring out what those tools are and putting together a plan for this, again, this is something that I offer. You'll check the link below. Based on my current role as an whatever engineer you are, electrical engineer, what skills should I learn over the next 12 months to increase my salary and stay relevant in the area of AI? Create a step-by-step roadmap. So this is a way for the model to make suggestions on career growth for you. What I would suggest you do with that list is actually not just do exactly what's on that list, but my suggestion would be for you to take that list, either discuss it in your manager's one-on-one or those regular like 360 feedback or whatever you have, discuss it there, or go through a formal mentorship program. Like I have run a mentorship program and I have a mentor myself. It's something that I offer for promotion. It's part of my Revenue Ready Engineer portfolio of products. That is something that you can work with me on. There's, again, like the link below. You can go there and you can check it out. But it isn't just about learning. It's about future-proofing yourself against potential layoffs, against changes in the business. You want to make yourself as flexible and as business-focused as you can. So when people get laid off, you can understand what your role looks like in the context of a greater business, rather than just, this is the thing that I do. It's about value add versus cost center. So here's the truth. AI is not really going to be replacing people. I know we keep saying that AI is going to be taking everyone's jobs. No, that's not how this is going to work at all. AI is going to be up-leveling people to the point where they are more capable, and that same work gets reallocated. So it's not that it's replacing an engineer, it's making existing engineers more valuable and making ones that aren't as valuable irrelevant. So this is very different. This means that there's going to be a dividing line in the middle. And if you are not very good, you might end up falling off the boat. And if you're very, very good, you might end up becoming the captain. But engineers who know how to use these tools, use them effectively, and know when to bring people in and how to create that feedback loop are going to be the ones who own the future. And it belongs to professionals who ask better questions and get better feedback, because better prompts create better answers, and better feedback creates better questions, which then creates better answers. And it's a loop. So don't just use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool. You learn to communicate effectively with the tools that you have. That right there is that competitive advantage. So hopefully if you found any of these ideas useful, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to use first. If you have other prompts that you really, really like, go for it. And if you think that prompting in 2026 is absolute BS, leave that and tell me too, because there are going to be a lot of people that are not at that skill level where they're going to be able to write a loop or write an agent and have it create the outcomes that you want. That takes some time to get your engineering skills up to that point. So let us know some practical tips if you are on that higher level that people can gather from this video. This may end up being not for everyone, and I understand that. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.